We will now set up the page layout and make the drawing suitable for plotting. We will start off with a quick review of the drawing. So here we have the plans and elevations over here. This is the ground floor plan, and this is the first floor plan for this particular dwelling. And all of the dimensions, hatching, stairs, furniture, etc. are currently visible. It would be a good idea to hide the room layout because we don't really want that layer to print. And over here we have the elevations all in one line. If you followed the other videos, I do recommend when you're actually drawing the elevations to draw it around the plans and rotate the drawing using these tools over here. But at the end I do think it's worthwhile pulling the elevations into one line so that they all line up, and it's much easier to actually add the dimensions. Otherwise, at times if you draw the dimensions on an elevation which is upside down, sometimes the text can be upside down and things like that. So it's just that little bit easier to show the elevations with the dimensions like this. Also on my drawing, I do have the various stages of the plans for this particular dwelling, similar to the other videos. And basically I'm mentioning that because it will be something that we'll have to deal with in a moment or two. So that is the 6 elements of the drawing that we want to print, and we want to print on an A1 page. Down at the bottom of my drawing I have a number of tabs down here. These are page layouts that are already set up. When you start off a new drawing you will not have these, so I'm just going to create a new layout, and that will call that layout 1. As default you normally start off with something called maybe layout 1 and layout 2. So going over to that, we have a viewport. And this viewport will automatically be created on your current layer. So in this case I'm currently on the layer Title Block. What you need to do is create a new layer and call it Viewport. So we'll just go into Layer Properties, and you need to create that new layer, call it Viewport, make the color yellow. I do usually make the line weight thin, but it's not really that important because this is the most important property of that layer, and we make that layer non-plotting. So if you click on that, it will put a little circle with a line through it. That means that layer is now non-printing. I'm going to make the layer current by double clicking, and then close down the layer properties manager, and then that viewport I'm also going to take that and move it onto the viewport layer, and just change the color to by layer, and I must just change that now as well. Okay. The next thing to do is go to the Output tab and click on Page Setup Manager. Now within this you can have various layouts that you amend. This is the layout that we've just created, so layout 1, choose Modify, and this will show you the page layout properties. Now what you can do is choose various plotters that might be available to you. In this particular case I'm going to choose DWG to PDF, but obviously you need to pick the plotter which is appropriate to what you have loaded on your machine. For the paper size, I want that to be ISO A1, and I want the longer dimension to be at the bottom, so it's the 841 by 594. What to plot, that is the layout. Basically that is everything that you will see on the white area in the background. And then for plot style table, in this particular case we need that to be monochrome so that all the lines print out black. And in this setting here, the plot scale refers to your actual page size. So we have chosen this paper size here, 841 by 594. What that means is that your actual white area will be exactly the same size as an A1 page, and we want that to print out at 1:1. How you set up the scale for the different elevations or plans is within the viewports, and we'll cover that in a moment. So there's no point in doing a preview just at this stage, everything's not ready, so click OK and then click close, and as you can now see, the page size has got a lot bigger. So I'm going to take that viewport and move it up. Maybe just to show you that you can add in new viewports if you go to the layout tab here. By clicking on rectangular, you can draw a new viewport like that, and I'll just delete that one now. So let's put the ground floor plan on here, and I've double clicked to get into the viewport, and then I'm going to zoom in to where the ground floor drawing is, and then if I double click out here, that takes me back into the paper space, and select the viewport and then go to properties, and then we can apply a standard scale. So in this case we want that to be 1:50, and that fits nicely within the viewport. In this case I'll maybe just make the viewport slightly smaller. And then what you want to make sure is that your ground floor plan and your first floor plan both line up. So I'm just going to move that up slightly from the bottom of the page, and then we'll copy the viewport up, making sure that the polar array is on. And then we can double click in here and make sure that you don't scroll in and out with the middle mouse button, otherwise you will change the viewport scale. So let's find the first floor plan. If we hold down the middle mouse button, hold shift on the keyboard, that can restrict that or constrain that to panning in a straight line. So that's exactly what we want in this case. I managed to hold down shift too long there, which can skew the viewport, so just be careful with that. I hit Ctrl and Z obviously to cancel that. So that now lines up with the other plan. We can double click out here in the viewport, and just to show you that these do line up, hopefully. Draw a straight line. We'll choose perpendicular. Now in this particular case, actually that is a capping stone there, so that will not line up, but it does line up with the wall at the next stage there, so we can delete that in the meanwhile. Again, what we want to do now is create another viewport, so we'll go to layout again and draw a new viewport, and this one needs to be a bit longer, so let's draw that over like that. Just for convenience, I'm going to make that the same height as the other one, and then we want some of the elevations. So basically, let's zoom in and find the front elevation and one of the side elevations, and then we can fix the viewport scale again to 1:50. Okay, it does need to be slightly bigger. So again, we can pan in a line there, just until you're happy that you have sufficient. It might just be worthwhile reducing the size of these viewports slightly to fit things in a little bit better. And once with that done, then we can widen the viewport. Sometimes I suppose people maybe like to put in some people or a car or something at the edge of the drawing, so depending on what space you have, you might want to include something like that. So again, we can copy that viewport, and we can make that viewport active and then pan over to the other side elevation and the rear elevation, again making sure that it fits nicely inside the drawing area. Now in my case, I do like to try and maintain a certain amount of lining up and symmetry and things like that within my drawings, so it just might be worthwhile tinkering about with things a little bit so that the drawings line up. So in this case, I'm just fixing the viewports to match the other settings. It's probably a little bit fussy, but it's just the way I prefer to do things. Oh, I got the wrong point there. Perpendicular. And because I'm on the viewport layer, if I do happen to leave any of these lines on by accident, they will be removed or they will not be printable. Okay, so do remember that you need to leave some space at the bottom of the drawing for your title block. Possibly a little bit more space than that would be good. It might be better actually to shrink the size of those viewports slightly. So to speed the process up, I'm going to go and look at the other one that I already have, and basically down in this area of the drawing you want to make sure that you have your title block. And what I do recommend is that you bear in mind that when you fold your drawing, you will have a distance of about 210 millimeters there, which is an A4 page. So you want to do your best to make sure that your title block fits within that properly. I'm just going to move that over, maybe a little bit, so that when the drawing is folded, that this shows on the front panel of the page. With your plans, you need to make sure that you give those a designation or a name. So I would suggest strongly that you use capital letters for the title of each of the views, and then you also show the scale beside it. Sometimes that's more appropriate to use smaller text for that. Try and line it up with the drawing. That's why that pink line was there. In this case, the text there isn't in the right place, so we'll move that over just so it lines up, keeps things a little bit neater and tidier. And be consistent. If you're using the bottom left hand side of the drawing, use that consistently on all of the views. So again, down here we need to move these other pieces of text so that they all line up, and then we can delete these pink lines just to make sure that they don't print. In terms of my drawing, I'm happy with the way everything looks. I've got the ground floor, first floor plan lining up, and I've got all 4 elevations here. Obviously there is more information needed. This is not the final version, but a little bit of variety here and there in what is drawn is sometimes good. So finally then we need to go back to layout, or output, sorry. Double check the page manager settings. This particular layout wasn't DWG to PDF, so we'll just transfer that over. Click on preview. Okay, so it's not monochrome. Then if we go to plot, plotting is the second stage really within AutoCAD. It's a 2-stage process. You do the page setup manager first, and that is where everything will be saved. So be wary of just going to plot and trying to set things up, because it will not remember those settings. I do strongly recommend that you do everything within page setup manager and you just use plot to actually finalize the command to print as such. So once you're happy that everything is set up there properly, you can do preview. Everything's coming out in black text, so that's looking good. And at this stage you can actually right click and just go plot if you're 100% happy with everything. I don't need to plot just now, but that is really the stage where you can click OK and plot directly to the plotter. So hopefully that's a good overview of how you set up the page and then plot, and that will allow you to print at the correct scale. Thank you for watching the video. Please feel free to like and share.